are over with. They are terminated. So we're going to get your views on this. Now I'm going to go ahead and explain how this exactly works, all right? Because this whole show is really based off of your opinions and how you feel about what happened, not how I feel about what happened, because I've already done the talking. I've talked all week. I've talked during the weekend. I've did extra shows about the weekend race. I want to know how you feel as a viewer, as a spectator, as a watcher, as anybody who is invested in Formula One, how you feel about these topics we're going to talk about tonight. So there are one of two ways that you can go ahead and come into the audience. There is a link in the description. There is also a link in the live chat. If you click that link, it will bring you into the audience. Once you get into the audience, if you have, and you do need to have, a laptop or a desktop using Edge or Google Chrome as your browser, you can then pose a question, come on live, say what you got to say, debate, maybe rebuttal one of the topics, and even offer maybe a new perspective about the topic itself that we're speaking about. So that's how you're going to do that. Okay. Usually we're on the 830s, but now we're going to try to move between 1900, 830, try to see what fits for some people. So we can get as many people as we can included. Cause I saw some people say, damn, I just missed the show, or maybe the show comes on too late. We're going to see what we can do about that. And we're here now. All right. So we're going to go ahead and start on some soft topics. Big shout out to everybody joining in the YouTube chat. I see Mary Beanie pulled up first. Good thing about that. Maria Duncan comes in. G-Spec Garage and Galacticus is with us. Will I Am is with us, and that is our latest VIP member. And Baraka, winner of a $50 Visa gift card for participating and winning in Quali Kickback Trivia. So we're going to kick off with some soft topics. You already see the first topic. First topic down there is about Alpine. We're going to kick off with some soft topics. How about Russell? Russell right now is really not becoming that guy that many of you are liking or caring for. And he's earning that on merit. Russell is earning that on merit. At first, I was trying to give Russell a little leeway, a little, like, hey, Russell, not so bad. Maybe just a guy that's being kind of misunderstood. Maybe we could give him a little leeway. But I'm going to tell you, Russell indeed is starting to earn the name of a bad guy or a douchebag. Some call him Princess George. And the things that he has been doing and saying, we already know what he said in regards to Lewis Hamilton getting a podium, and then Oscar Piastri missing out on that podium, which is something a teammate should never say. If you're supporting your teammate, your teammate gets a podium, you don't want to say anything that discounts that podium. Like I think that Oscar should have got it. Or you don't do that. That's just not something you do. Russell, you're tripping. The other thing is Russell impeded his own teammate, and it really cost Lewis Hamilton some position. Those are soft topics. And even if you feel some way about it, you can go ahead and get in the studio. You can tell me how you feel about it. The other thing is this. I will tell you, if this show goes without anybody calling in, it will be an easy show for me. I will come on. I will go over the topics. I might give a little bit about what I think. I give majority about what I think on my regular broadcast, whether it be performance talk or it be one of the rants that I go on. It will be a very easygoing day. OK. Other than that, let's also talk about Danny Rick. The other soft topic we want to talk about, Danny Rick's performance, not outperforming Yuki. Yuki, again, bringing home some points. All right. Now, we know of two other situations Yuki could have brought home, probably had about 5 points. He was in 11th, barely missed out on some points. Mary Beanie says in the live chat over YouTube, Princess George can do one I was done with 3 years ago. She did say that. And Ricciardo is not doing that. Has Ricciardo coming back been a mistake on his behalf? I think Red Bull will use whatever they can at their disposal to try and offset anything they wish to or they deem necessary, i.e. Nick DeVries. If Ricciardo does not finish with any points, okay, for one, if Ricciardo also does not outperform Yuki for two, and if he consistently seems to have the same performance from the time he came back to the end of the season of Nick DeVries, what was it all for? What was firing Nick DeVries all for? It would be for nothing. You will have created a bad situation between you and another driver, especially if he watches the driver that you replace him with perform as he did, and he's not even a rookie. Daniel Ricciardo is not a rookie. Nick DeVries was, although a very seasoned rookie in other series of racing. But it would be a bad situation for me to see you fire me, hire another guy who's had his time in Formula One, and then say he didn't outperform me let alone Yuki. Baraka says Mercedes has some fault in PR63's quali. Okay, disaster class. He's calling it the disaster class. All right, let's bring my brother Baraka on.
What's up?
What's going on, bro? First, man, let me congratulate you, bro, on the $50, man, and winning kickback quality trivia. You did say you was gonna do it, man.
I did.
You did say you was gonna do it, so I always gotta commend the man that does what he says he's gonna do, man. So how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Just another day in the A.
Yeah.
So you already know.
Yeah. So let's get you started with your F1 minute, brother. Go ahead.
So I'm usually the one that will celebrate a PR63 disaster class, obviously for obvious reasons.
Okay.
But I think that day on Friday, once everything was shown to light, I sat back and looked back and said, as of late, Mercedes and their communication has been, pardon my language, dog. It's been awful. Like, I think if this is true, this is what it was said after the lockup into turn 1 in Spa, after George overtook Lewis for quali.
Okay.
It was said as George was like, hey, should we back down? And Bono just continued saying no, continue. And that's why. I feel like personally, if again a lockup into turn 1, yes, I know it was the track was drying up, so they were banking on maybe going up the Kimmel Straight. If he could recover, could gain some time. But usually when you lock up like that, 9 times out of 10, you might as well just abandon and go for another lap. But we all know Spa is the longest track on the grid. It's the only track that surpasses the 7 kilometer requirement. So, and due to the time that was afforded to them, they panicked and just said, you know what, go, let's do a Hail Mary, just go. And in turn, it did cost Lewis let's be real, I'll admit it, Lewis had a front row chance going in quality. He had a chance to be in the front row.
Okay, so you would say that Mercedes, as far as their instruction to their driver, you attributing more of that to the debacle that happened as far as Russell impeding Lewis Hamilton?
Yes.
Okay.
Based on what I've saw on well, now it's called X.
Right.
But what I saw, if that's true, then yeah, they dropped the ball. I can't lie, and it ended up screwing both of them over.
Indeed it did. So let me ask you this: even with that said, does that take some shade off of Russell given his other actions previously?
No,
not okay. So you're not okay. All right. So you're still there where as far as Russell is.
Yeah, I'm still there. I'm always saying, again, I never call him GR. It's PR. That's what this, as much people slate Max as the villain. It's like, this man, George, has been getting away with a lot of stuff. That if any other, Lando says something similar and he gets rightfully cooked, Max rightfully cooked, Alonso, George, I think he has, even his fan base, like Max doesn't have that such of a fan base that will go head over heels with such PR.
Right.
So I'm like, I can't lie. Drivers would kill to have such PR George has at this current moment in time. Okay. And with Mary Beanie calling her a princess, what I'll say, keep on going. I'm enjoying it. He is Princess Russell now. So
okay, roger that, brother, man. I appreciate you, bro. Hey,
no problem.
I think Baraka makes a very good point. That is something to look into. Just because we know and somebody's earned the reputation, sometimes there are situations that take place where it's not necessarily them that are creating it, but at the same time, it's like once you've done so much, it's like, why don't we just chuck this right on the wheelbarrow with everything that you've done legitimately? Mary Beanie says Shady is the 2.0 version of Maxi Pad up Lewis. Okay, yeah, Mary Beanie is one that definitely is about her campaign about Shady Russell. She's said many times before, when all of this started, when Russell first came to the team, how she felt about Russell and his character. And I think myself, a lot of other people, gave Russell the benefit of the doubt and even some after seeing evidence that maybe possibly it could be true. And at this point in time, I would say that fewer people are giving him the benefit of the doubt, seeing that he's earning that. Will with WPPN, as we open up the F1 Minute, is coming in hot. Let's go. Our latest VIP member, Will, I am. What's going on, my brother? I see you with that lifestyle shirt on, my brother.
What's up? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, my brother. What do you got going on?
All right. Good. So I just wanted to start this off with a couple of announcements. Of course, we talked about the VIP member thing, so I wanted to also just in case anyone missed it, there were a few people that I did some shout outs for. Some of my day ones. If I missed anybody here, it's just because these were people that kind of welcomed me in when I first got into Discord, into the membership back in February. So I'll just roll through those again. Going over to shout outs for Mary Mags, Mary Mastradamus Benny, of course, always coming through. Blue Diva, a battle buddy, fellow nerd. Sylvia Wick, the shooter. Shout out to Paul and Hill, Tri-State fam. Uno Mi Brethren from Jamaica. Galacticus, Juice Distributor. Musa, the Wise One. Wildcat, Broken, Metro, Carlos, Ben. Racer X210, the Grudge Racers. Freak Dogs, Trivia Man. Have to add Baraka to that, he's got to win now. And a special shout out to you, Jay, of course, because you go above and beyond in everything that you do. And your hard work is appreciated by us all. So again, Purple Sectors, let's get it.
Thank you very much, brother, man. So what do you got for us? I know we got some, we're going to do the kitty litter now. We're going to do it later. What do you want to do, man?
So, who'd you have in the Spence Crawford fight over the weekend?
Oh, man. You know, I rocked with home crowd. I really thought Crawford he was more hungry, but I rocked with Spence just because Texas. But I felt like Crawford, man, he just had a certain... He had that aura about him, bro. Like Spence was just way too calm throughout the entire camp. He just seemed way too comfortable. And I just feel like when you look that comfortable and you kind of that laid back, I think you're underestimating what you're about to get into. Although I've seen your body of work, man, Crawford just looked like a dog. Like he was just, this is my moment. And when you got a fighter that feels like this is his moment and that this is make it or break it for him, that's a dangerous fighter to go up against. You can't go in with the same lackadaisical or the same calm, cool, collective fight. This dude was coming to rip your head off. Other dudes might have just been coming there glad to have the opportunity. He was coming because he felt like this was his and it was about to be his time. So I felt that Crawford was going to win it, but I rocked with Spence, you know what I'm saying, being from Texas. And Spence didn't look the same when he came out that ring, bro.
No. That's a changed man. That's a changed man right there. That's
Changed man. Who did you have, my brother?
I had Crawford from the beginning. I knew the fix was in once Charlemagne the God brought Crawford up to the Breakfast Club and he just kept going in about Spence taking him out. I was like, dude, you could have ruined this whole thing for this man. Like, what are you doing?
It's like Nico with the selfies, huh? Yeah.
Exactly. I was like, you got to be kidding me. And of course, but I will give Charlemagne, he did, go and give himself Donkey of the Day for all that ridiculousness. So that was good. He did give himself Donkey of the Day today.
That's
but I bring up the boxing because in the sprint there was a bit of what I like to call pit lane pugilism. So we're gonna go there with this. And I was on lap 1 after the safety car peeled off and half the grid went into the pits. So we're gonna start there on it. So half the grid peeled into the pits. I call them interpitters. They began to peel off. Piastri led the lot, followed by Sainz. Gasly threw a feint left after the bus stop chicane, but came back with a quick right to beat Hamilton to the punch and dip into the pit lane as well. Perez followed suit with Ricciardo and Albon in tow. Stroll goes side by side with Alonso through the bus stop chicane. Stroll dips into the pits. Alonso continues on. Stroll and Gasly tussle a bit as Stroll pits and Gasly releases. Then run side by side in the pit lane. Hülkenberg and Bottas bring up the rear for the final 2 inner pitters. Piastri comes out ahead 2.4 seconds, followed by Sainz, then Perez 2.5, Hamilton with a 5.2 pit stop due to traffic. We just can't get these things straight. Ricciardo and Stroll almost come to blows with Albon, who was at the end of the pit lane, and had to concede to them both before the end of the pit lane because they're almost going 3 wide into something that barely fits 1 car. And so now you have round 2. The other people that didn't pit. Verstappen comes in first. He pits, almost hit Norris with the left coming out of his pit box, sort of like hitting the pit wall with the left at the British GP quali. Leclerc pits and dips right behind Sargent and in front of a pitting Alonso. After all is said and done, Oscar Pia comes out leading the sprint race. Time for an ad read. Wolfpack Waffles. You knew this was coming. In honor of the Belgian Grand Prix and Belgian waffles, we highlight Wolfpack Waffles. Whether it's PB&J, chocolate, or banana, Wolfpack Waffles was chosen by 10 out of 10 grudge racers over the other brand that sounds like a Danish toy company. For the upcoming 3-leg grudge race series, why don't you give Wolfpack Waffles a shot? Back to you, Jay.
I love them. Hey, man, appreciate you. Wolfpack Waffles. I'm telling you, my man, come with them every time off the dome, man. Wolfpack Waffles. The Wolfpack Waffles are good, y'all. You know, specially handmade, crafted ingredients by yourself, by me. You know what I'm saying? Yours truly, Wolfpack J. Wolfpack Waffles ain't nothing to play with. Remember that. All right, so there we go. Nice. I really do like the way Will spun that whole interpitters. That was pretty good. The mechanic says Merc is under reconstruction mode. You could tell Toto aged 5 years. Yo, no lie. I had posted a image of Toto earlier in the season like this, man, and I posted an image of him last year. He did age. Like, it was like instant aging. Like, you want to get instant like revitalization. Like, Toto looks like he aged maybe even more than 5 years. The mechanic is being kind in just this season alone. It's crazy. It's like almost Barack Obama when he was president. You look at him when he first came in, look at Barack when he went out, it's like, damn, it's hard to believe that was only like 4 years. Oh, man, another 4 years. The aging, the stress I believe Toto is under is immense from all of the greatness they once did. Plus, you're under pressure from your viewers, maybe even your stockholders, everybody who felt like Lewis Hamilton deserves and should be given the necessary tools to get this 8th championship. As Mercedes got theirs, your number one driver who was shafted did not get his, and we do not feel like you are doing everything in your power to give him the machinery that can compete against the Red Bulls. You made a turd car, and now he's in it. So let's go ahead and jump into Alpine real quick. Alpine definitely having some problems, having some issues, having pink slips fly around like the pink in their liveries. People are getting tossed overboard and fired. Otmar, team principal, gone. Pat, you know what I'm saying? He's out of there. Chief technical officer, he's gone. Sports director, Allen, gone. Alpine is on their way trying to, they're basically in a rebuild. And I want to know, do some of you think Gasly should be next? Sling68 says, in light of all the problems at Mercedes, is it time to consider that the people that made Mercedes dominant aren't working there anymore? That is very highly something that we already know due to the cost cap and Red Bull acquiring many Mercedes employees. But it looks like Alpine employees are going elsewhere. Alpine's cleaning house. They're talking about this special project that's supposed to be going on that nobody is seeing witness of any real development to tell us that there's a special project going on. But Alpine once fourth, called themselves best of the rest, now 6th in the Constructors' Championships, is not looking so hot. Ocon once again having a pretty decent performance. Alpine having 3 times where both cars have been out of the race and unable to collect points. Where does this fall blame? Where is there an opportunity for Alpine to improve? And if so, does that improvement, the change, the reconstruction also bleed into the drivers? And if so, which driver do you get rid of? Are we getting rid of Ocon? Are we getting rid of Gasly? Are there other options out there that Alpine should be considering, or do they sit tight with the drivers and just worry about getting these other pieces in place? Could this all be a ripple effect of the new owners and Michael B. Jordan and Reynolds and McPhee that have come on with 24% of the Alpine group? Have they made some voiced some concerns and made some requests that if we're going to be part of this team and we're 24% part of it, we need to see some changes that we think you all need to make? Is that possible? Let me know what you think. Will I Am says, thank you, everyone. Y'all are the best. Will is the best of everybody else as well. Everybody makes, like, everybody, I'll tell you, I always say I have the dopest community. Like, they're all the best. I'm trying to tell you, like, what we do here. So congratulations to Will again. Latest VIP member, congratulations to Barack, a $50 Visa gift card going out to him very soon, and everybody else that's participated in Kickback Quality Trivia. So, yeah, I think Alpine myself, I would say that Alpine are in a situation where and it kind of like McLaren during their livery launch, I think we may have got a scent of, is this going to really be a good season? Besides for the racer program, which was very commendable, that was the best part of the launch. Everything else about the livery launch was kind of sap. It was really not that great. It really wasn't that good. And coming into this season, I think people, including myself, had a bit more respect for Alpine and a bit more, I would say, optimism as far as what they could do, maybe kind of surprising us all, being again in the top 5, holding on to that 4th spot. And if Ferrari messed up, maybe seeing something very crazy happen. And it didn't. It just didn't at all. All right. So I think Rossi's gone. I know he did and said what he said. He put his team on blast. I'm very well aware of that. I think there are different leadership styles, and Alain Prost has been somebody who felt that his leadership style was pretty much could be considered donkey of the day. All right, he could be considered donkey of the day. He did not agree with his leadership style. I can't blame him, but I can't say that maybe it didn't work to a degree, but evidently not enough. Okay, Otmar, he probably goes along with the people who completely ruined and jacked up. And this maybe could be a ripple effect of Oscar Piastri getting out of the grasp of Alpine, going to McLaren through a very, very deep dispute between these teams going to the CRB, or Contractual Recognition Board, and Oscar winning his rights to choose what he wanted to do with his career. He chose to go to McLaren, and he's been performing very well as a rookie this season. That's what I will say. Very well as a rookie this season. Okay, we're not going to great. We're not going to, the best. We're not going to any of that. He's performing very well as a rookie this season and contributing to his team. And I think I would choose Oscar over Gasly, period. So that in itself is a situation. Will says Alpine time. Oh, let's go. Let's go. Will's got his words to say, brother. Let me hear what you got to say. You got your F1 minute. Pop in.
All right. So as far as we'll start with the structure. So you've got Luca Di Maio at the top, Philip Krief. You got him at the CEO. You got Bruno Famin as the VP of Motorsport, who none of these people are team principals. So whoever they end up hiring as a team principal will have to answer to Bruno, and then I guess he'll do some kumbaya with the other two that are at the very top. So even there, we don't know what's going on. As far as the timeline goes, they peaked in 4th place in 2018. You've got 5th in 2019 to 2021, 4th back in 2022, and not a single person in the past 5 years are still in those same positions. So let's run through these real quick. All right. The first reshuffle with Nick Chester at the end of 2019. Pete Machine, he left as well. You've got, let's see, the rebrand in 2021, Cyril Biddebo, who was with Renault, then switched to Alpine, he's out. You've got, again, Machine, he's out. You've got Bukowski, he's out. Engine Chief, he's out. Remy Tapin, Laurent Rossi, he joins, then he's out. You've got Davide Brivio, who came from MotoGP. He was in, then out, did nothing. So who knows what he did. Pat Fry, he's going to Williams. I think he starts 1 November 2023. Yeah, again, Famin, you bring him in as an engine boss, because that's not only his only job now is to be this quasi-team principal thing, and he has no Formula One experience. So what are we doing with that? A couple people have still survived. Dirk De Beer, he's still there. Matt Harmon, he's still there. But again, that's not much. So I just feel like as far as all this shuffling goes and everything, there's no stability in the team. And I did want to make a quick comment about the Alain Prost thing, because I was reading up on that as well. And if anyone doesn't know, he was brought in as an executive director and was brought in during the Renault years, and then left after this whole thing when it shifted to Alpine, because he really didn't like the way Laurent Rossi was doing things. Mm-hmm. And one of the things he brought up, and I thought this was pretty interesting, he wrote a column in L'Equipe, which is this French newspaper, and he said that he felt like Rossi was an example of the Dunning-Kruger effect. And he said that he was basically an incapable leader who thinks he can overcome his incompetence by his arrogance and his lack of humanity towards his troops. Basically just saying that the guy is an underperformer that overestimates his skills. which is just, I thought was just the biggest shot over the bow to Laura Rossi was insane. But it really summed it up as far as what this guy was about and what everyone was talking about. It's just you come in and you're trying to run this whole entire organization, and nothing was ever his fault. Every time it was something that was supposed to be his fault, he would just pivot to the other foot and then just say, well, now it's just their fault. If it was the team's fault, then it wasn't his fault. If it was his fault, then it was this whole back and forth thing, and there was no accountability, nothing. So again, it's just I think that with all this is going on, if we watch the fall for Alpine, 2022 Hungarian Grand Prix a year ago, they were fourth in the Constructors' Championship, and Williams was last. There was 96 points in between them, and 12 months later, Alpine is sixth, Williams is seventh. So as far as progression goes, there are teams that are progressing, but Alpine is pretty much stagnant, and it really doesn't look too good for them right now as it stands.
Brother, good points, man. Good points, Will. Will is, yeah, indeed. He definitely sent a major shot across the bow. Like it was like, where, have you ever heard the term put an address on it? He put an address on it and came straight out. And so let's see what Alpine does going forward. I would like to see maybe if they are going to consider changing out Gasly or doing something to their driver lineup. The mechanic says Merck messed up with the zero pod concept, but I believe they'll come back a lot stronger with the W15 using the W14 as baseline. And I do believe Mercedes come back stronger. I think the bigger question is, will it be strong enough in 2024 to be very competitive right next to the Red Bull to really take wins off of Max Verstappen, off of Perez, and gain enough points to where we don't know who's going to come out on top at the end? I think that's the bigger question. They came back stronger after the W13. Maybe you didn't like the amount of progress that was made there, but the truth is it was progression, but not enough progression to rival one or two. So the W15 definitely should come back stronger. It's Mercedes. I still have hope in what they do. I still believe in what they've shown us. They have evidence to prove to us that they are a team that can develop not only throughout the course of a night and a weekend, but through the course of a season, and definitely from season to season. The W13 being not excused, but being an outlier for that. But still, majority not Mercedes is there. Blue Diva, so great to see Susie's announcement that F1 Academy will be shown live. From now on, it will run alongside the F1 race weekend. That is what I'm talking about. By the way, we will have guests here in the Wolves Den where only the Wolfpack members will be privy to be in that audience and ask questions or pose questions, much like we are in F1 Minute to the guests. So be prepared for that. We got Swag Jeff coming in. We need more team changes. Let's go, Jeff. Giving Jeff his F1 Minute. Good day, brother.
First thing, I'm wearing my AFC Richmond jersey because I think F1 needs more of what they did in the show, which is bring in some people that maybe don't know the F1 way, don't know how things work, and maybe are going to look at things a little bit differently. Maybe you bring in Susie Wolff to run the show instead of Toto Wolff. But I think maybe Andretti's going to come in and look at things a little bit differently. Who knows? But there's things that got to change. Taking a Italian team and putting a new Italian manager in there is not a change, right? Things got to change, like tire strategies got to change. Pit stop strategies got to change. If you look at the pit strategy of some of these teams, it is atrocious. And if you look at pit stop times as an example, if you take a 2-second pit stop versus a 3 or a 3.5 pit stop, and you've got a 2-stop race, you got an extra 2 or 3 seconds per race. That's the difference between getting points and not getting points. That's a difference between a podium and a not podium. I just think we need to do some things. And Alpine, let's see what happens. Gasly may not be there. We'll see. He may be an IndyCar next year.
Ooh. All right, Jeff, before you go and come back, I got a question for you.
Sure.
If you had to select a driver would it be Gasly that you're going to replace? Are you keeping Ocon or Gasly?
I'm keeping Ocon.
Okay, so if you're losing Gasly, who are you putting in that seat to replace Gasly?
The backup the reserve driver for Ferrari. I can't remember. Giovinazzi.
You're gonna pick him? Oh my gosh! Whoa!
I'd probably pick Herta from IndyCar.
Oh, okay. Okay. Herta gets a super license. You're picking Herta.
If Herta got a super license, I would love to see Herta come in.
I'm with you on that. I'm definitely not with Giovinazzi, but I'm with you on that, brother. As always, you stay looking fly. Go ahead.
If you took the Red Bull pit crew and you put them on the open market, what do you think they'd be worth?
Ooh, Jeff with a fire question.
So so if you take a crap team that's got a crap pit crew, it's making all kinds of mistakes. You go into the off season. You say, okay, I'm going to not spend this money on this one upgrade. Instead, I'm going to go buy myself a new pit crew. Of course, Red Bull's not selling that, but I think the Red Bull pit crew is the best, maybe one of the best.
Hands down, by far the best.
If you take some of these other teams, if you take Ferrari or you take Mercedes and you get them a better pit crew that can save them 2, 3, 4 seconds a race, over 23 races, what would it mean to have the best pit crew on the grid?
Jeff, that was a very solid point, brother. Appreciate you as always looking swaggish, man.
You got it.
Yo, that was a good one. What do you think Red Bull's pit crew would be worth on the open market? Listen, I'm going to tell you something. I don't know, right? But I was looking at the Little One Wants a Pet, and I saw a red panda. And I said, yo, that would be an awesome pet. Of course, I found out you can't buy a red panda, and if you do buy one, it's off the black market. But they were like anywhere between $2,000 and $5,000 if you find somebody on the black market to get you a red panda, which I wouldn't do. But, you know, what would it be worth if Red Bull's pit crew was on the market and up for sale? But are they? Are they? That's something to consider. That is something to consider. So let's go to our next segment. And we are talking about Aston Martin falling like they farting. I'm trying to tell you, Aston Martin and Galactica says Alpine bet on Alonso, then lost Pia. You fired. Damn. That is so true. Like if you bet on Alonso, you lost Oscar. Oscar's performing. Yeah. You getting the pink slip. Good, very good one right there. So we got Aston Martin. We got Alonso with false promises up in here, y'all. Now, let's not forget what Alonso said. And if you forgot what he said, I'm going to show you what he said. This is what the guy said. This is the last race without podium, is what he said. This was what he said. I believe it was Canada, where he came in 5th. Since then, Alonso ranked in 7th in the following race. The race after that, 9th. And this race makes a climb back to 5th, no podium. Sometimes you got to be careful with what you say. Sometimes it's better to not say anything and let the talking happen on track. That's just a very good point, okay? Alonso, you said this is the last race without a podium. You said this. This is what you said, guy. You said this. The last race without a podium is what Alonso said. And since then, he has done nothing more than get further away from podium. 5th, 7th, 9th, makes a little comeback to 5th, still no podium. And now we're in the summer break and you still got no podium. Alonso, sometimes you just got to shut the hell up and just drive. This is one. Y'all want to talk about things that don't age well? This right here stinks. I saw an armadillo on the side of the road. This stinks worse than that. Okay. So what do we have going on at Aston Martin? We got an underperforming Stroll. What's going on, false flag? Peace to you, my brother. We got an underperforming Stroll, and he's been underperforming. And so many of us have said, when is it time to let Felipe get in? When is that going to be time? Should they not be doing that already? Should Aston Martin not be allowing Felipe after the summer break to get into the AMR 23? Do they have much to lose doing that? Stroll, it's not like he's not doing what Alonso was doing in the AMR 23. So if you're Aston Martin, are you allowing Felipe to get in? That's what I want to know. I think it's a very, very fair question. And I think I would. I honestly think I would allow Felipe to get into the seat. I think it's about time. I think they need to see now more than wait later. All right. And the mechanic says, nah, you misread it, Wolf. What he said is that this is our last race with a podium. And then we move back to the field where we belong. Yeah, Alonso. The mechanic. Listen, if you all have not been on it, the mechanic has been coming in hot with these takes. Hot. He's giving everybody the smoke if you putting yourself out there. Baraka says Aston Martin laid a massive egg after Alonso said that. Also, Sir Lancelot gotta go. Baraka, let's go. Let me hear what you got to say, my brother. You got your F1 minute now. Roll it.
So I'm not gonna sit here and lie. I got excited when Alonso had the podium, meaning it's like, okay, we might have some competition this year. It seems like Aston Martin are coming in with their fist swinging. They're ready to fight and all that. But that was with Alonso. But then I look at the second half of the team, and I'm looking at this nepotism son that has been on a good day decent, who would probably, let's be real, shit house a podium
Right.
once every blue moon, I guess. But as of late, he has been showing us like, hey, he's not cut up to this because where Aston Martin is in the constructors, they shouldn't be there. They should be higher. Let's keep it a buck.
Okay.
They should be higher. And if Lance actually did his part, I feel like in turn would help out Alonso in terms of like driver's points, because again, Lewis I think is 1 point behind now.
Yeah, 1 point behind Alonso.
So deep down, I bet Alonso's looking at it. He's not saying it publicly because that's the boss's son. He really can't say it, but it's like he's looking at the boss's son as like, I'm carrying this team to the point that now I'm being a sacrificial lamb for a Mercedes comeback. And I'm doing he's doing his very best. I know I get it. People have their opinions on Alonso, but he is doing a lot more than he was told to do, given the fact that Lance is in the team. And you have Drugovich as a reserve driver, who during practice at the beginning of the season, during testing, looked very good for a person that's just coming into the sport. So now it's like, if I was the boss, I'm looking at my son and it's like, hey, I love you, son. I love you with all my heart. You're just not cut up to it. You're not cut for it. And I bet you if Drugovich was there from the beginning till now, Aston Martin would be further up in the constructor points, and probably there'll be a little bit more gap between Lewis and Alonso due to the fact that he has a competent teammate in terms of it's like, hey, if he needs to have someone defend his spot, he has it. While you have Stroll, who, let's be real, just like Checo, with the car that's giving, is flirting in the mid-pack where it shouldn't be.
Right.
Here it is. Where Stroll and Checo are, with the cars they have, you sitting there is like, what are you guys doing? You guys clearly are the 1 and 2 fastest cars in the grid. Wagwan, what's going on, boss? Come on. Are you cut up for it or not? So yeah, Lance got to go. Aston, I think once Alonso said this is going to be our last non-podium, you know what Trump said when he said cut off the lights? The lights got too bright. The lights, turn them off. Turn them off. We don't need it. The lights got too bright.
Oh man, Baraka, turn off the lights.
Turn off the lights. Turn them off. Turn them off.
Big shout out, fam. Very good point. My man came with the turn off the lights. Hey, Alonso, you said this, bro. It's all on you. The last race without a podium. Baraka brings up a good point, though. Alonso being a sacrificial lamb for the Mercedes comeback, because Stroll's not even close enough to be considered, right? That's what we talked about, Max being so far out ahead that they're not paying attention to his track limits because the race is happening behind him. So very good point. Aston Martin, Will coming in. Let's see what Will got, my brother. All right, let's roll. Will, give it to him, bro.
All right. So first off, let's let's just say, okay, that whole thing with the Trump thing and all that, he stole that from Teddy Pendergrass. We know he originally told everyone to turn off the lights, light a
Yeah, Teddy.
candle.
That's right, Teddy.
That's the most singing you're ever getting out of me. I'm never doing that again. We got a couple things in here I want to fit in. So we've got, there's like so many different Marys that I have now. So we've got Mary Mastradamus, who does believe that James Vowles is going to replace Toto Wolff once he does retire. Williams basically grooming him up, get him ready, and replace him. So she wanted to add that in. We've got Mary Miss Binney from University, teacher, says to Sling 68 that it's Paddy Lowe with 2 D's, not 2 T's, not Paddy Lowe, but Paddy Lowe. Add that in.
God.
And then Mary Mags Binney, which we know when Mary Mags Binney comes through, that's the shooter, comes through and says, again, just like what Baraka was saying, that it's time for Felipe Drugovich to basically get that seat from Stroll. So I wanted to make sure that I got those out there. And we all know that Felipe Drugovich, 2022 F2 champion, test and reserve driver for Aston Martin right now, probably does deserve that. And one last thing, I don't know what I'm going to call this yet, but there's a couple people in here that are always in our comments that don't necessarily get to call in. They're not part of the membership, but Daylin Tuttle, who's always in our comments and supports, says that she thinks that Williams was a pit crew that was pretty good for a few years, if she remembers correctly. So I think what she's probably alluding to is the fact that maybe we need to work with our sister team and try to get maybe Merck up and running. Maybe they could, win some awards that Williams was winning. So I'm thinking maybe that's where she was going with that by making that comment. So,
all right.
Danilin, I got you.
Definitely. Hey, Will taking care of the fam. Big shout out for that. Definitely, just to make it clear, people, you do not need to be a member of the channel to actually call in. The live link is there for everybody. That's why I've even invited haters. Haters like to get in the comment section and run their mouth, yap, 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 like a chihuahua. And then I say, hey, click the link, call in. You see people call in. It's real easy. Laptop, desktop, Edge or Google Chrome. Call in and say what you got to say, put an address on it. So definitely, if you don't have that, then of course you can't call in. You still can be in the audience with an iPhone or a smartphone. I don't want to be a droid hater. I'm not a droid hater. You got to be a hater on it. You got to be above that. Droid just sucks. But iPhone, smartphone, or tablet will allow you to be in the audience, but it won't allow you to make a call in. You need a laptop or a desktop. So take advantage of that, because the F1 Minute, I constructed this for you all to have a voice at some point in time during the race, week in and week out, to share your opinions verbally and visually. Just like I created the Discord so that I can personally be involved with my family members of the channel. We don't have that ability through YouTube. We don't have that ability always through Instagram or Twitter or X or any of the other platforms, especially Facebook. Facebook tends to be a little bit more closed and personal, especially, but Discord allows us all to commune together and personally have attachments together and communication together and share experiences with each other. And that's why I created it. And I absolutely love it when I get the opportunity, when I'm not working so hard on content, to peek in and chill with my fam, especially when we do the Wolves Den. So yeah, definitely call in, hit that link, call in and give us your opinion. Let's go ahead to our next segment. And that is RB19 twins different. Are Perez and Max driving the same car? All right. That is what I would like to hear from you if you think this is the case. Is the RB19 the same car for both drivers? That is what I would like to know from you all. Poll in the chat, vote on it, don't dance on it. I heard a lot of arguments or statements this weekend. I saw a lot of social media posts this weekend where people were just offering their perspectives as to why they think this is the case, that Max and Perez are not given the same RB19. I do agree that it is ridiculous for me to think Perez is as bad of a driver for Max Verstappen to pass an RB19 with his teammate in it leading the race and then gap him by 22 seconds. The eliteness is very marginal. Okay. Usually, and I'm going to tell you this, the difference between the field right now of Red Bull and I'm going to say Lewis Hamilton, Alonso, Lando is the car. Charles Leclerc is the car with Max. I do not believe if Charles has an RB19, if Lewis has an RB19, if Alonso has an RB19, if Lando has an RB19, I do not believe you see a gap of 22 seconds between Max and those other drivers. Just like I don't believe a gap of 22 seconds between Perez and Max is something that's going to happen. But hey, it could be. But I'm just saying, for people to bring that up is a very interesting point. And I think it is fact that at some point in time, Perez and Max did not have the same car. All right. And we've seen it in other teams. So it's not to say Red Bull is doing something that other teams haven't, but it was kind of funny the way it was done. Like we saw Albon get the updates before Logan. I think we saw Lando get updates before Pia. I think maybe did Ferrari do? I know Ferrari. I don't think Ferrari may have done it, but we've seen this happen. We saw who was it? I think it was K-Mag get updates and said, so we've seen this happen. But it wasn't because they didn't have it. Red Bull came out and said, well, we don't have any more floors to get Perez. Like, what? You don't have any more floors? Like, you breached the cost cap by more than $2 million something, bro. You don't have enough floors to give Perez one. So has that now still been the case? Are these cars different? Because it did look oddly, ridiculously funny and suspect to see Max pass Perez like so. Baraka, my point with Checo still stands. Here Baraka comes. Before I even get to it, he came in with it. Let's go.
Listen,
go ahead, Baraka.
Is the word of like, yes, depending teams will treat different drivers within their own team different. Yes, we've seen it since the dawn of F1.
Facts.
The team that they've invested the most in would get
Ferrari
the preferential treatment. Ferrari is egregious with Schumacher.
Right.
Renault did it with Alonso.
Facts.
You can make an argument with Lewis and Mercedes, and you could argue with the fact with Max with Red Bull. It's nothing out the ordinary. I think this has been the unwritten rule in motorsport where no team wants to admit it, but deep down, everyone, fans, non-fans alike, would say it happens. It's just the rough end of the deal. But with Checo's case, I think, okay, I'll entertain the thought, yes, he probably may have a slightly slower car.
Right.
But like I said last time when I was talking about Lance, that slightly slower car is still a rocket ship compared to the rest of the grid. I'm seeing it compete in the midfield pack with Ferrari, Mercedes, a Renault I think at one point. And I'm sitting here is like, okay, Checo, he's a talented driver. Anybody that's in the F1 grid right now is talented enough to do it. But with the car that he has, I said it with Lance, I'm gonna say it with Checo. The car that you have, you shouldn't be in the midfield. You shouldn't be in the midfield. I don't care if Alonso or Max has a better car.
Right. You
should be at least, if Max and Alonso are P1 and P2, you should at least be P3, P4, and I'll probably allow P5. And that nothing lower. You should be nothing lower, nothing less.
Right.
So the fact that I'm seeing Stroll at what I think I was going to say the point with Stroll, the lowest he's finished is 14th. Like he's only beaten Fernando once.
Right.
Checo only beaten Max twice. In the car that they have, they should challenge for podiums. I know, fair play to Checo. He's finally. Apparently, he saw me talk crap and took it personally, like Michael Jordan. Right. He finally showed, congrats, my dog. This is what I want.
Right.
But too little, too late, I guess. But I'm looking at Stroll's and Checo's race results. Is like, you can say it's like, yeah, today it was a good season. I'm looking at it as like, no, it's not.
No, it's not.
With the car you got, you had a god awful season. You should be flirting with the podium every race.
Every race.
I'm sorry. The fact that Stroll is allowing Leclerc to sniff a podium before him, Norris, Pia sniff a podium before him.
Facts.
Come on. Checo, I'm seeing him getting overtaken by an Alfa Romeo, screwing up in quali. It's like,
God,
dog,
damn.
Come on. Like, let's be real. I'm going to call a spade, and it's like, you are underperforming. I don't care if the specs between the cars are different. It's still if Max is the fastest car, your car is the second by a long shot compared to everyone else.
I can go with that.
So yeah, I can't. It's like I know you said maybe Red Bull are, holding the chains back. They're sandbagging Checo's car. I'll entertain it. It still is not an excuse for him to be finishing outside the top 5.
Facts.
It's still not an excuse. If Brady had an all-star lineup, as much as I hate Brady, but yet he's failing to make the playoffs, I'm gonna give him the same smoke that I'm giving to Checo right now.
Right. Facts. Baraka coming in hot. Baraka with another one. Oh my gosh. We got a new caller in. We got Julian Aguilar coming in. Aguilara coming in right now. Let's go. And then we got Jeff Nick Kenny B's back in the shop. Let's make this happen. Let's hope Julian has everything right. How you doing, man? Give me a mic check.
Mic check. Mic check.
Mic check. All right, man. You got your F1 minute. Go for it.
Alrighty. So as far as answering the question, I decided to pull up an interesting stat here about the median teammate gaps between teammates in this season. And the gap between Verstappen and Perez is higher than the average gap, but it isn't the highest. Why do I mean what I want to stress here is that Perez being off Verstappen is a lot more highlighted because Verstappen is always first and then Perez is second or third. Obviously, then he had his horrible qualifying sessions in the recent weeks, which is obviously unacceptable. But if say Perez is driving a worse car, is Sargent driving a worse car to Albon? Is Stroll driving a worse car to Alonso? Is everyone doing this then? And another thing I would like to point is that I think I could be wrong on this, but I am pretty sure that whenever you do an upgrade to a car, you have to actually specify which car gets that upgrade. And if they were giving upgrades to Verstappen and not Perez, then it should be documented if that did happen. Now, you can question or not if they're getting around that somehow, but I don't think even then it makes beneficial sense to not give Perez these upgrades. But anyhow, I do lean on the fact that the cars are the same, but Verstappen is just that much better. I think Perez is a lot more mid in the sense than Perez.
You just think that Verstappen is that much better than Perez?
I think in my books there's
because I will say this with your two because I'm going to give you some more time because I always like to give people an opportunity to think about some other things. I will say this with you used Albon and Logan, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then let's just say those two right there. We got Logan, pure rookie. Definitely probably not the best of the 3 rookies. So let's go ahead. We'll put that one to the side. But the one that I've brought up that you also brought up that I think is very valid, and I've used this as a standard to hold up to the test with the Red Bull situation is Alonso and Stroll. All right.
Yes.
Has Stroll ever proven to really be as good of a driver as Perez, in your opinion?
I think Perez is a better driver, but I don't think Perez has proven to me that he's that great either. So go ahead. And the stats do say that the median gap, and there are lots of races where damage and certain circumstances can change a couple of these things. But the median gap between Alonso and Stroll is higher than Verstappen and Perez. But it's not by a lot.
I'll go for that. Yeah, I'll go for that.
But I also think Perez is not that much better than Stroll, but I would do rate Perez higher than Stroll, especially since he's got more experience than Stroll.
Okay. That's fair.
Perez really hasn't proven to me that he's that great either. So it's kind of like a battle of mid, when you want to compare Stroll and Perez.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Battle of mid. That sounds like an official historical battle. The battle of mid.
Yeah, I mean, it really is a battle of mid. But
Yeah,
I'll leave it at that. I think I chimed in my 2 cents. I'm glad to be here for the first time.
Hey, appreciate you joining us for the first time, man. Very good point, and I like that you came with some receipts. I like that. Very good point.
All righty, man. I'll see you.
All right, take it easy. All right, we got Jeff coming in next. Hot swag Jeff. What he's got for us this time? Jeff Riverside. He's got there we go. What's up? Hey, we got the Ferrari on deck this time. Hey, man, you got to be careful. Christian Horner, he might come and tape up a big piece of tape over that. All right, Jeff, let's go, brother. What you got? You got your F1 minute. Rock it out.
First of all, anyone that says that Perez is getting a car, the same car as Max, it must be from Colorado because they're smoking some stuff. There's no way. I swear they're putting deflated tires on Perez's car when he comes in for pit stops. Perez is not qualified well. He's made some big mistakes. I think he's made those mistakes because he's pushing so hard to try to stay with Max. The other thing is losing 700,000 fans. Lost 700,000 fans because nobody wants to see a blowout. And then people will say, well, what about the Hamilton years? What about the Merck years? Well, Hamilton was a likable guy. People wanted to see him win.
Good point.
Nobody really likes Max. I mean, I'm just guessing here. Max's dad probably had to pay kids to play with him in the neighborhood when he was a kid because nobody wanted to have anything to do with him. To me, Max is like the Ron DeSantis of F1. What can I tell you? He's just not a likable guy, and people don't want to see him win. But if Checo had a better car, it would at least be more fun.
Yo, that was something unexpected. If you don't know who DeSantis is, look him up. That was a major poke in the eye by Jeff. Big thanks, brother. Appreciate you. Damn. All right, we got Kenny B in a minute. Kenny B coming to bless the mic, man. Let's get it in, Kenny B. What's going on, good brother? How you doing, man? Hey, let me turn that speaker down on because you got feedback on the YouTube. Or mute the YouTube. There we go.
I did. Come on. YouTube. Sorry.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna mute my mic while you talk.
Okay.
All right.
All
go ahead.
Listen, y'all covered so much in that last conversation that I just gotta reiterate some of it. Okay. Number one, Mercedes always switch chassis between drivers since Lewis has been there. Okay, so anyone, and then not just that, but from the moment he came to the team, when updates came to the track, they always alternated which driver would get the upgrades first, along with they also alternated which driver was going to be up front in qualifying compared to behind. I don't know if you remember the fiasco that happened with Nico in Monaco, where Nico was on pole and everybody thinks he went off track on purpose to kill qualifying. So as far as now, every team, and it goes all the way to the worst end with Ferrari and Michael Schumacher to Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton as far as being fair towards one driver or the other. Mercedes is always giving the other driver a fair opportunity, but they've also said, hey, we have the final say, and when situations come up, we're going to say, hey, look, we need you to take a step back to make the season end the way they wanted it to, and it was the right thing to do. Now, as far as Perez and Max driving the same car, yeah, they're driving the same car. This is the most important part that everyone forgets. These drivers' driving styles have just as much importance in how they fit the car as how well the car is. So when you take a driver like Perez, who could be a championship driver, okay, in that same car if Max wasn't there, he can beat the whole field because no doubt about it. But that car is tilted so far towards Max's driving style and all the up tilted even more that way. And the reason why Red Bull does it is because his driving style is the fastest on track. That's why they do it. Okay, so even if they tilted the car all the way towards Perez, that would make them probably may even give Perez an advantage. But they're going to be slower on track than they would if they tilted it towards Max. Now, I can't stand Max. I'll be honest about it. Okay, I can't stand Red Bull because they're some cheating little suckers, but that's another story. You still have to see things for what they really are. And the real issue is that that car is never going to Perez, and he's always got to do extra work just to stay in the ballpark with Max. That car is very unstable, and Max really enjoys an unstable, and that's wrong. Not matter. It doesn't bother him that the rear end is unstable as long as he's got a strong front end, because he takes the turns in sharp. He knows how to take that turn sharp, come off of it real quick to release the heat from the tires, and it makes him faster in and out of the turns. Yeah, the car is more stable on the rear end, but because of his driving style, he's so used to that, his brain just reacts to it so much faster than any other, except maybe Alonso and Lewis, because they're unicorns too. But that's the real issue that's going on here. Go ahead and unmute your mic.
Very good point, my brother. Very good point, my brother. Appreciate that. So let me speak on that for a second. Kenny B bringing up a very good point, and I'm gonna give Kenny B some time to see if he can get his settings right. But that is a very good point. And I think if you look earlier in the season, Perez had made mention of this before, even last season. The car suited him well, and he felt very comfortable. And if you go and listen a little bit further, you can hear Perez talk about where he started not feeling so comfortable in the car. And even his performance changed then. Max like a car that's on the nose. He doesn't mind that. Perez, not so much. Kenny B making another good point. And see, I don't have a problem with good points. When you make good points like Kenny B, Baraka, Will, many of you others that are in the chat, Mary Beanie, Sylvia Wick, Galactus, Dow, a lot of people make good points. It's a good point. It's a good perspective, and you can back it up. That's where it really comes in. When you come with shenanigans, I'm gonna bat you out of here like Matumbo every time. But another point Kenny B brings up is the fact that, and a lot of us should have known this, they're gonna push the developments more towards Max. All right. And even Christian Horner said at one point in time, the developments of the car are for the car to be the fastest on track, but it wasn't really put in the right context. Kenny B just put it in the right context for you. Those updates are going to lean towards Max, and they're going to favor Max and not Perez. And we've also seen that in Formula One before. We got Will coming up next. Then we got Baraka again, and then Uno. Let's go, Will. What you got, my brother?
What's up? So I think with the teammate offset, I believe Julian was referring to that. The race put out a graphic that showed teammate offsets as far as the percentage between the different drivers and what the offset was. So at the bottom of the list was Verstappen versus Perez. And of course, that's like you said, it's going to kind of skew the numbers as far as what that number really should be. I don't think the difference is that much, but because of the fact that it is Verstappen, of course, coming in first place most of the time. Of course, Red Bull overall has won all these races. That, of course, is going to make it look like it's a lot worse than it really is. However, I do believe that it still does shed some light on the fact that, as you said, and as a couple other people have said, Kenny as well, the car is being developed over time, and it's going to lean towards a certain driver if they're getting better results. I think the car, basically what I'm trying to say is, the car is, of course, going to be the same. But it's the setup. The setup is key. And as you go through the weekend, practice sessions, a lot of people want to see practice sessions more often, right? The practice sessions are when you're able to set the car up and get it in that right specific window. And the Red Bull is very, very specific to the way that they set it up. That's why sometimes they look like they're leading by 30, 40 seconds at the end of a race and then 9 seconds. It's very, very specific. And the stuff that they're dealing with is just that much further along as far as the grid goes. So if you can't get it in that specific window, then you start to see those major offsets. You start to see one race where they lead, like Silverstone, they win by that much. This race, they won by a lot more. If you can't get it into that window and figure out those things, and again, it's funny how that was a sprint weekend. If you can't get it into that window, then all of a sudden you start to not maybe see that same performance that they could gain. I do think also that Perez, as far as driver goes, people forget that he's a little bit more of like a journeyman type of, and I keep going back to these boxing references this weekend. He's like a journeyman driver, and he does have wins. And out of this whole entire grid, we can just run through this. I mean, there's a few that have one win. You got Gasly, Ocon, Sainz, Russell. You've got Leclerc that has 5. You've got Perez that has 6, and then you've got Danny Ricciardo, who's now back on here. He's got 8. You've got Bottas that has 10, and then you have the top 3, which are the big dogs, which you've got Alonso, followed by Verstappen, and then Lewis, which nobody's catching that. I don't care what anybody says. But, it's I think that people forget that he still is a good driver. He still can perform, but if you can't get that confidence underneath you, because like Kenny was saying, Verstappen being the short corner driver, Peter Windsor has said that in plenty of videos. It's a different style of driving. So if you can then build that confidence up and make these stellar qualifying moves and race moves and all that kind of stuff, the team is going to gravitate towards making the car, in that direction. And I'll say this much, we're starting to see that now as well with Mercedes, where in the beginning it was Lewis driving around in 2022 with this car that was horrible with, compact computers strapped to the back, like, extra, 10 kilos on the car, while Russell was just looking like, everybody was coming out and making it seem as if Russell was, the greatest thing since sliced bread. Once you remove those things and the car starts to actually, they start to actually use the same and equal machinery, you start to realize that the skill level is completely different. And Lewis can show up and just pretty much put him to rest very quickly, and now the car is being developed into that direction. So I do believe that does play a major role in all of this. It's not just, really don't think it's just different cars. It's just the setup. If they nail the setup and Verstappen can drive the car better than Perez, then you start to see that. We saw that with the street circuits, where we were saying he's a tire whisperer because they were rear limited tracks. So he was able to, keep his tires in check and be able to go longer stints. So we saw Baku was the best one. Verstappen could not chase him down. So there's a lot of things that come into play with that, but I do believe that Verstappen is adapting more. We see that with the number one driver throughout all teams, and I'm not a Verstappen fan, but we're seeing that. He's stepping up. So it's one of those things that if Perez can't, then they're going to develop that car into Verstappen's direction because it means more points. It's just you're locking the championship down a lot faster if he can't pick that up. And the other thing with Perez is, and I think Morocco was speaking to this, you need somebody that is going to be the person that is going to be number 2 in the Drivers' Championship to pick up those other points. If he's not number 2 or at least on the podium, you got to start looking at somebody else. This is a car that, because of the things that they did in 2021, and that carried over into 2022, and Toto said it's going to carry over into 2023 most likely, this car is unbeatable. It's just unbeatable. So when you're showing up and you're not able to at least perform at the level, I'm not saying outperform the car, that's what Verstappen's doing, but at least perform at the level, then you get things where Ricciardo is moving into AlphaTauri and he's looking to take your seat, and we all know what's going on there. So it's all up to him if he's going to retain his seat at Red Bull at this point.
Big facts, bro. Big facts on that. Very good point. That's why I like this shit. Good point on that. But let's talk about this too. Is it not something to be said about these shenanigans? Is it not something to be said about these shenanigans? All right. Does this being said over the radio not say to you all that it is more the car than it is Max Verstappen at this point of the reason why Red Bull is so dominant? All right. When you have a driver in the race, come on, y'all, like Max is good, but come on, the car is a beast. And because the car is a beast and Max is good, you can do and say things like this. Pit stop training. Are we being serious right now? Pit stop training. Come on. We got to at least admit that much. Listen, it's so windy. I have to hold the steering wheel really tight. These unnecessary radio messages just tell you that, listen, I'm good, but this car is so damn strong. And you've all been there. You've all been there where you go karting and you sit there and you watch other people on the track before you and your crew get on, and you see the kart that clearly probably has to be the fastest. And you're like, you know what? I want one, 2, or 3 of the karts that are out front by so much. Those karts got to be stronger. And you get on them, and what do you realize when you get in that kart? It's stronger. Right out of the gate, it's stronger. That's why it's there. And if you sit there long enough and watch several other cycle of people come in, 9 times out of 10, you're going to see that same kart, those same 2 or 3 karts are always going to be first in the pit because they're the strongest kart. And you're going to see driver in and driver out. The RB19, come on, is a plain damn rocket ship. And for Max to come over the radio and say that much, does that not tell you all that yeah, that's the point? We got Uno coming in, and then Baraka. Let's go, Uno, my brethren. I'm about to go ahead and give you your F1 minute, brother.
Can you hear me? 1,
yeah,
2.
I can. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? 1st of July, August. Welcome to the club, and Peace and blessings. Well, as we all know and all see, we just kind of like speculating too much about Perez. But the actual thing is, we got to give Perez his props because this guy is working very hard, pushing as much as he can, and also trying to keep the team to also become the top consecutive winners in the world, right? But at the same time, I don't think he's getting that actual props. I don't think he's getting that recognition. And I don't even feel that they are giving him the car because due to that fact, every time he's always pushing the power, even when he was actually leading that time, when it was him, Lewis, and who else was it? Was it Lando? Was it third racing driver behind him that time before? You see Max coming up right behind them and then all of a sudden overtake him. Like, it kind of like that Schumacher and Barrichello time. That's just give Schumacher the pass. Let him get the win. Let him take this win. No. This is a race. This is what we paid to see. This is what we all getting the entertainment for. This is how it should work in balance. Each drivers test their ability and quality, but it come like they're all feeding that ability to Max and let Perez just come like a guinea pig.
Damn. Big shout out, Uno. Big shout out on that. Uno coming with some heat as well. Jeez. Y'all coming with it tonight. We got who we got up here next. We got Baraka, then we got Kenny B coming in next. We got a super chat from Galactus, and it says that where is it? Let me get it in real quick. False flag says peace. Also Galactus says, where is it? He says Red Bull straight line speed are to be the same car. I'll say so. Galacticus is not believing at all the same car. And I think there's been some examples to say this is not the same car. So Baraka coming in. Let me give you an F1 minute, brother. Again, let's go in. What you got to say, bro? And then Kenny B next.
So I just wanted to bounce off of what Kenny said, saying
okay,
like them having the same car is just the way, and I think what Will even pointed out, I think the setup. And when you put it into perspective, the fact that yes, the RB19 is more catered towards Max in terms of setup, it's not surprising on paper because, like what Kenny said earlier, his style of driving for that car has been again last year was proven to be the fastest way for Red Bull. So they decided to hey, we'll set it up towards Max. I think the same thing happens with when Bottas' time with Mercedes when he was teammates with Lewis. Lewis had the fastest driving style. You can say, yeah, it's kind of similar. It kind of blurs the lines, but Lewis was the faster driver, so they catered towards him in terms of bringing in setups, him testing things out. And it's the same thing with Ferrari, with Rubens Barrichello and Schumacher. There was a clear difference. There was a clear difference that Schumacher was the guy. Say what you want on how he would win races from time to time. You could ask, and Gilles Villeneuve is how he tried to win it. But yeah, I think it's more of Checo last season when Checo was a bit more challenging, even especially him fighting with the Ferraris when Ferrari was a tad bit more competent. Checo, yes, he was faster, or the second fastest, but barely. Even when the car wasn't set up for Max last year at the start, you kind of see that Max was still kind of fast, the faster driver. I know I'm trying to figure out a race where I can't remember the race when Checo said, yeah, it's now the car is not set up the way I want it to be.
Right.
That's when I know
that's what I was referring to.
That's when I know it's yeah, they Red Bull figured out how to set up the car to suit Max, because even when the car was more towards Checo style, Max was still kind of the faster driver.
Right.
So it's I can't really blame Red Bull for doing it because he had the chance. He had the chance last year to prove. It's yeah, he had the 1 or 2 races, but Max was more consistent.
True.
He is
very true.
I say, there's a term because I play soccer. The term is consistency is the availability is the best.
Availability is the best ability.
Yes. So when the lights are bright, like I said, Max is there 9 times out of 10. There's a guarantee Max is going to be there.
That's true.
Checo, if it's not a street course, I am not betting for him to win or do well in the race. That's my personal race. That's my personal. It's like I know it's like I'm the odd man being more sympathetic or more supportive towards Red Bull, but I'm just calling it how it is and how I see it. Checo, while again he's a good driver,
right?
He's a bit of a journeyman. Like he's used to going from team to team, doing good enough to keep the team afloat. Like what he did at Racing Point, I cannot. You can't forget. He was carrying like again the battle of mid really did happen in real life with Checo and Stroll.
Right.
The battle of mid did happen, and Checo won. He was the better driver between the two.
Was.
And then Checo progressed to a bigger team. Yes, he has more podiums now than he had at Racing Point, but when you have a teammate like Max, who Red Bull has invested since what year? Since a long time ago. They've invested a lot in Max. They are willing to do it, go head over heels to make sure that investment yields results.
Right.
It's like I think I'm not a business. I'm not a business major.
Right.
But that's pretty much business 101. You have an investment, you do whatever it takes to make sure your investment yields results. And that's what Red Bull is doing with Max. People's like, oh, that's pretty scummy of him. But it's like, I think that's just the dark side of the sport at times. Can
be. And they're just a little bit more.
Ross Brawn did. Yeah, Ross Brawn. I think during, again, Barrichello Schumacher. They've invested so much in Schumacher. It's like,
facts.
We are making sure this man gets the best car, make sure he is the clear number one. Right. People hate it. I know it's like, yes, there's Ferrari fans are there. They were the most vocal. But I can remember, it's like, I had a friend who's a McLaren fan. He's way older than me. I think he's your age. He said, it's like, there are times he hated Ferrari because they kept on winning. He's like, they kept on winning. And I think we're seeing the same thing with Max. It's like, we're having that Barrichello Schumacher effect with Red Bull now. Same thing.
Nice one.
The team that started it capitulated, while the team that's doing it now is like you start to see incremental improvements within the team that Christian Horner and Marco are making. Say what you want, how they are personal, but business-wise, cutthroat, ruthless. They make sure they have their results there on paper, and especially with Honda coming in, them ditching Renault. Because aerodynamically, even with the Renault, they're the more aerodynamically advanced. They just couldn't have the power unit to last an entire race. So now they have a power unit to complement the aero package that Newey has. And now everyone is like, oh, this is what Red Bull's been cooking this whole time. God knows if Honda got their crap together with McLaren, or they joined Red Bull. Given the fact I heard Red Bull has been more open to have Honda control the power unit side at the time, and they'll just complement it, and it worked wonders. They've been like the DX or the Hardy Boys of F1. It's just like they just meshed well together. So yeah.
Big shout out Baraka. Goddamn, man. Hey man, Galactus talking about, man, you was coming for me, man. You was sending shots across the bow over there, man.
Hey, Galacticus, hey man, it's all love. It's all from the heart. It's all love.
I appreciate it, bro. All right, we got Kenny B coming in next, and we got Julian. We're about to get ready. Let's get Kenny B in here. Let's go, Kenny B. What you got? Let's see.
Bruh, I gotta spit some real stuff at you.
Go ahead.
First of all,
cap on backwards.
Yeah, man, you got me turned around. First of all, the thing and Schumacher, like the young man was just talking about, what he made of it is from the moment Schumacher landed in Ferrari, he saw the chaos, and he went straight to the top. And, hey, we cannot run this operation like this.
Facts.
All right. There's one chief, and everybody else needs to fall in line. The bottom line issue is aero, suspension, engines. They all need to come together and compromise. We can't have this situation where everybody is fighting for their piece of the pie to do what they want to do to get the best out of their part of the car, when the bottom line issue is the entire package needs to come together. So that's what happened when Schumacher went to Ferrari. And Ross Brawn was there because he agreed with him. And he did what he had to do to make that happen. That's why, and that's the way the Italians are. because of Enzo, they on competing internally. They thought that was the right way to go. Guess who believes Donald Trump? Okay, so let's just put that to bed right now. Okay.
Right.
Secondly, Mercedes showed the same blueprint. They said, but they showed it from an organizational level. They said, as an organization, we are going to put all the tools in place to make the team at home. We are by having everything we need, the wind tunnel. We already supply the power units and make those ourselves, and we got the best power unit out there. Mm-hmm. They did everything. They got all of the tools they needed. They spent big money. Now, what's going on at Williams? They've got a Mercedes Pro, and what is he trying to do? Put all the pieces in place to give them the tools that they need to be successful. They are that they've got a driver who can make it happen. He may not be a world champion driver, but he's a damn good driver.
Yes.
Okay, so there's that, and then back to Max. Man, we gotta have a real talk about this, okay? The bottom line issue is, and I didn't find out till my first appearance on your show that really you are drivers. Y'all drive sims, and who actually happen to be Formula One fans, right? So I don't understand what you guys don't understand, especially after the start of the pandemic. You watched Formula One drivers go to and they were getting smashed. They were getting smashed by the top sim drivers.
Facts.
You know why? Because the sim drivers knew the tricks to make the tires come into play.
Facts.
All of the tricks to make their car perform at its peak performance. Now the problem with Formula One is getting correlation between your simulator and what you are actually putting on the car and what's actually going on with the car. And that's what happened with Aston Martin. They came out with an upgrade that they thought was going to improve their car, which was really the second fastest car out there. Yeah. And their simulators didn't correlate with what they were getting from the data out on the track.
Reality. Mm-hmm.
Reality. And that's why Alonso couldn't keep his promise about being on the podium. But let's keep in mind, he's got Adrian Newey's number 2 aerodynamicist on his team now. Mm-hmm. They know all of the secrets that Red Bull have been using. They know the secrets to their floor. Come next year, you can bet they are going to be back up there again. Of course, Mercedes is going to be there. Ferrari's going to be there. McLaren's going to be there. And maybe Alpine might be there. Let's not even talk about Alpine.
Let's not go that far, bro.
Let's not even talk about the Alpine. Because you can't get consistency in Formula One when you keep changing the parts. Everybody is specific to what they do. All right?
Right.
And all those pieces need to come together. If you keep changing the pieces, you're going to keep changing the recipe.
Right.
You keep changing the recipe, you're getting a different product each time. You can improve on that product and make its best product, but it won't be the best product until you get your recipe right.
Right.
And that's where Alpine is really screwing up.
Struggling. Right.
They made the right move by getting the investment. Now they can invest in the things that they need to invest in, a new wind tunnel, some new software, stuff like that. They need that stuff.
Right.
But it's not going to do you. Who they're going to hire? Yeah, they're going to hire they're going to hire old boy from Ferrari?
Ooh.
That's the next person up.
Right.
Who's up?
Damn. That's
okay.
Yeah.
Alan Permain's gone. All these guys are gone.
Right.
But the real tell was when the professor left, because he was the first straw. When he left, I was like, why is he leaving? And it turns out there were some systemic problems with the head of that team, and that's why they cleaned house. Because when it first happened, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, what the hell going on? What are they doing all
Yeah.
that?
and then to get rid of the team principal, y'all just got him. And the one thing he has proven is he can do more with less. He proved that at Alpine. Last comment, and I know I'm gonna run this up real quick.
Because you make a good point. Go ahead.
Yes, Perez is a race winner in another car, not a Red Bull. First race coming from last place in 2019. I think it was 2019.
I don't recall.
Racing Point.
Tracing
With the pink, with the pink Mercedes.
Yeah, pink Tracing Point. That's right, the pink Mercedes.
The pink. That is not it. Now, granted, that year the FIA was just dead set on hitting rules for every little thing they could to make them lose races. Okay, because the same year, Perez, one too, and Mazda, Pierre, whatever his name is, Gasly.
Talking about Gasly?
Yeah, Pierre Gasly. But to do. So when a person, especially when they come from behind, that kind of driver, they may not have the fastest driver, but that doesn't mean they're not fast. Now, with you guys being sim drivers, when you learn how to cut and come off of the wheel, not to overheat and cool, but still make that turn as fast as you possibly can, that's the fastest way to high-speed turns. You guys, y'all invented this. They had to learn the hard in Formula One because they were actually using up tires.
Right.
And conditions were constantly changing. It was tough when they were actually using a lot of off-season and in-season racing to do testing and stuff. Now with the simulator, as long as your simulator is correlated with the car, what's actually going on, you can really learn to make your car as fast as it can. The problem is your driving style is something you picked up from the moment you first got a go-kart.
Mm-hmm.
You have started in your brain. And to get your brain to start thinking differently and react going on when you're moving over to, it is not an easy thing to change your driving style. Lance has done that for the first 2 years at Red Bull. That is not an easy thing to do.
True.
So
true.
You're talking about getting rid of one of the drivers from Alpine. Keep this in mind. You bring, that's 2 years to get acclimated, because 1 year to get acclimated to Formula One and all of the tools that come on that steering.
Right.
Okay, and then number 2 to get used to the speed. Okay,
True.
you bring in that car never matches the person's driving style. So that was complete luck with Alonso when he went to
Aston Martin.
Yeah. So for him to just look that he could actually edge with, complete luck. What it also shows is if you are not a unicorn, you can't drive like that. And that's what's coming up with Lance. You put Lance and Perez's, even worse. Are you
Right. I thought it ain't gonna be good. It ain't gonna be good. Still ain't gonna be good. Right.
And everybody who keeps putting Lando in that there. Okay, you're going on evidence and Lando be pretty good. You don't know what Lando is until you put him in the top car. If you put him in a Red Bull, can he handle all the inconsistent twerk come up when you coming out of those high speed turns.
Right. Good point, Kenny B. Good point.
Okay,
bro.
so long-winded.
You got
I
the
hadn't
good
been
point.
on the show for a while.
Yeah.
When this came on, I was at work. I drove home to make sure I got this one.
Kenny B said, I'm in this shit. Kenny B said, I'm making a hot lap.
I can't even remember all the stuff that y'all talk about that just gets me, and I'm like, oh no, I got to clarify that. So.
Hey man, and I'm gonna tell you, if they didn't, I missed you, brother. I knew you. I think I talked about you a couple of times. With Kenny B, I'm used to seeing him up in here, so I appreciate you doing that, brother, because you always have some good perspectives, and that's what we like, good, healthy debate, man. And you bring that every time you come on the show, bro.
I try, and I appreciate it, man. And by the way, I had a great time at the Miami Grand Prix, man. It was killer.
Was it?
Yeah, man.
Outside the Grand Prix.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
All right, my brother, man.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Peace out. All right, we got Julian coming in. Let's go, Julian. What do you got? Let me give you your F1 minute, brother. Kick us off as we get ready to close it on out. Let's go, Julian.
Alrighty, so one thing I wanted to do is bring a small correction of what the previous speaker was saying. If I don't remember their name. It was when Perez won his race before he won Red Bull. He went like 167 races without winning. So that's number one, first thing. So it took him very, very long to finally win the race.
Cool.
The next thing is that he won the 2020 Grand Prix. Do you remember that race? Do you remember how Lewis had COVID?
Oh, yeah.
Russ
Yep.
won the
That's
car?
when that's when Russ came in, right?
That's the race that Perez won. That was the race that they completely messed up Bottas's tires. They gave him like hard tires that weren't his tires, and then Russell got a tire puncture.
Yeah, that was bad. Yeah,
and,
that's right.
But Perez did come from last to first, but he did have a safety car to help him, and he had that also helped him to make sure that he got that. I want to get it out of the way because it is worth mentioning that Perez won before he went into the top car or a car that can compete for wins, but he did it in very specific circumstances. He never won a race in 167 starts before that moment. So,
good. I like that.
Next thing I wanted to talk about, if I have time, if you
go ahead. I'll give you that time. Go ahead and make your point, bro.
The Belgian GP this weekend. I wanted to talk about this specific race and how Perez was performing this race because I don't have.
Julian. I think we lost Julian right there. Julian. Damn, I think he was about to make a killer point. I think Julian was about to make a killer point right there.
Oh, I'm back.
There you go. Go ahead.
I accidentally unplugged my mic. I touched the wire and jumped off for a second.
Got too excited. You was about to go off. Go ahead, Julian.
No, like I barely touched the cord and it unplugged. It takes like 5-10 seconds. I'm like, please don't kick me in these 10 seconds.
Go ahead. I got you. I was gonna wait for you, man. Go ahead.
All right. So this weekend, I want to follow a line of reasoning and you can back me up if you agree with what I'm saying or disagree.
All right.
Sectors 1 and 3 are not as hard or as where the skill is shown of a driver as Sector 2. Would you agree with me on that one?
I do.
Sector 2 is where all the skilling, so to say, is going on. There's 1 and 3. It's more about the car. And also, Sector 2 is still about the car, but Sector 2 is where your driver can show the difference between you and someone else. I would, if you had an opportunity to do that, so to say.
Yeah, I would say that about Sector 2.
Okay, so with that being said, on Sectors 1 and 3, during the final stint between Perez and Verstappen, Perez would typically gain about a tenth on Verstappen, more or less a lap on Sectors 1 and 2. Right to Verstappen. Sectors 1 and 3 are actually where the tires tend to wear out a little bit more if you overdo them because they're hard acceleration zones rather than smooth steering zones. When you go from like 40 miles an hour and you crank that speed up heading down an exit, that's tire degradation 100%, especially through a Rouge with the lateral forces and whatnot.
with that increased elevation. Facts.
So Checo was actually overdoing it, if you want to say that, in Sectors 1 and 3. On sector 2 is where Verstappen was absolutely slamming Checo. It was like a 1 second a lap that Verstappen was passing up Perez, but Perez was gaining a tenth or two on through sectors 1 and 3 because he wasn't saving his tires in those sections because Verstappen wasn't going full pelt on those sections. And even with that being said,
nice.
Lewis Hamilton was actually just about like 1 or 2 tenths off Checo every single sector 2. In fact, if you corrected for tire degradation, Lewis was literally about on average 1 tenth slower than Perez, even in a much slower W14. And I'm a Lewis Hamilton hater. I'm a hater, but I know how to bring up. But Checo Perez is just not it, bro. I actually I hate Hamilton because he's the GOAT. So
like, go ahead.
He's the GOAT. I hate him because I like seeing GOATs finally come off and, you know, cathartic experience and all that, but whatever.
Right.
But I cannot believe that Perez in the one section where the driver skill actually matters is only up 1 tenth over Hamilton. So that's what I just wanted to point out. I just wanted to really put that there because there's evidence there that in sectors 1 and 3 they're equal. It's only sector 2 where the actual skill matters that Checo is losing all this time compared to Verstappen. It just proves the theory that Verstappen is just better. Checo is not.
I do believe that. Yeah, hands down.
And you can see this also as well in. Let's talk about the Azerbaijan race. Would you say that Azerbaijan is a race full of heavy, like full traction, 90-degree turns, and there's not a lot of like places to show your skill in Azerbaijan? I would say. I don't know if you would agree with me on that.
I wouldn't say there's not a lot of places to show your skill. I would say there are less technical challenges in Azerbaijan than other tracks like we will talk about the Belgian GP at Spa. I would say that. I would say that still there's a skill to be shown in Azerbaijan as far as high speed and ability. And so that's where Checo's ability and talent would shine more than you just highlighted and very factually proved with Max's ability in a very technical sector 2 at Spa. Definitely.
In sector 2, I mean, even Hamilton. I feel like Hamilton and Verstappen, when they're left alone to do one lap, are like very similar drivers. It's almost very hard to separate them and actual do one lap, go and go full pelt.
Right.
So the tracks where you can actually like demonstrate a lot of that is tracks where Verstappen's gap to Perez is very large. So the British GP, the Belgian GP, Canadian GP, and I don't know. There's a lot of GPs.
Jeddah.
Jeddah, I think is an exception track. I feel like Jeddah as a track is actually pretty skillful, especially when we're talking about the S's section that goes really long to S, and then another S, and then another S. I feel like that was the Perez's best performance of his career.
Yeah,
I'm gonna call out on a limb. I think that was Perez's best performance in his entire career. More performance than the Wayne he got in 2020. I was actually really impressed, and he actually had me believing that we were going to get a title fight for a hot second. Because if you can match Verstappen on that type of track, where there's a lot of skill to be shown in that sector, I was like, okay, we got something going on. And then Perez goes back to what he was usually doing, and Azerbaijan kind of didn't help. It made it look like even more, but then Azerbaijan is the type of track that Perez is very good at. Then we hit the stretch of really technical tracks, and then reality set in, and back to mid we go, Checo. So yeah, I just really wanted to set in stone, highlight more about what I was saying earlier. Checo is mid, and I really I don't quite understand the idea that Red Bull are trying to sabotage Checo's as RB19. And I
get that perspective though. I get that perspective because people, you got to understand different perspectives, right? Like different, it's all opinionated, but I think there's a correlation that when people see something, right, as far as we see this driver doing so well, and then as soon as he does well, it's like the rug is pulled from under him. So of course it's only natural human behavior to say, well, damn, what is going on? Every time he does well, he has the talent to do well. How is it every time he does well, then all of a sudden he falls off a cliff? And then you have to also couple that ideology with the fact of Red Bull's characteristics in the sport. They're not great as far as character and integrity. They've proven that. So when you look at that, I can understand the perspective of having that could be a case. Now, whether it's factual or not and it's proven, now we've seen situations in Formula One where this has happened. We've seen in situations in Formula One where, either it's a driver or somebody doesn't want another driver. But to say factually at Red Bull, is it happening? We don't know. We haven't seen it. But is it plausible? Yeah, it's plausible. So I can understand that perspective.
Well, I would think that if the RB19 wasn't equal between these two cars, that Perez would be obviously slower down the straight of the Kemmel Straight than Verstappen. I would think so.
Good point.
But he isn't. It's always in the sections where like you put it down, throw it in the corner.
I think where it comes in to throw it in the corner. Well, Max is good with the car being on the nose.
It's just Sergio just isn't doing it. It could be because the setup isn't meant for him. I feel like that's the most one that I can maybe get behind, where the setup and the way the car was designed suits Max more than Perez. But they're not. It just doesn't seem like it's worth the effort even. Like imagine having to go like past the FIA technical like documentation, like having to subvert that to go through the effort to slow down Checo. It might not even be worth it. Like, is it worth it? Like, is it the getting nervous and trying to hide things from the FIA is something you want to do if the benefit is slowing down one of your cars? Right. I get it if you want to go behind the FIA to speed up your cars. I mean, of course. Like, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. That's what I'm saying. But cheating to slow yourself down is just the most. It ain't computing. So that's what I have to say. That's all I gotta say. So
man, listen. Do not let this be the last time you come on this show. It's your first time. Don't let it be your last time, bro.
I'll be here, bro. If you bring up spicy topics, Hamilton, Verstappen, I'm there.
Got you.
I might be a hater, but I respect Hamilton.
I was just going to say that. I can respect somebody that says I'm a hater, but I can respect what the GOAT has done, and I respect that, bro.
So I'll be around. And thanks for having me on for a second time. I think the show's about to end.
Roger that. Appreciate you, man.
Happy to be here. Thank you for everyone in the chat for showing up at the show as well, and for hearing me ramble for the past 3 or 4 minutes.
That's what we're here for.
You guys around.
All right, peace out. All right, here comes Will I Am about to wrap us up. Will I Am, give us the WPPN outro, my brother.
All right, just wanted to type in the chat.
Hey, man, before we get started, did you send me the side shirt, man, so I can send your shirt out?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
In your DMs, I sent it to you.
All right, this go ahead, man. Wrap us up.
It was a medium. This fit pretty well, so I was like, that will work. There you go. All right. First off, my man took the longest. Julian, I'm glad you brought this discourse in to the F1 Minute and all that. We need more of that to have the other side of what we're looking at as far as topics, as far as opinions, things like that. I really do appreciate that. But that was also the longest way to finally go back and just say in the end that it's just the setup of the car. And and I say this because the grid is the closest that it's been as far as performance goes and as far as the differences between drivers since probably the late 90s, early 2000s when Schumacher came in and said, things like performance, like seeing, I say performance, but your, athletics, your, the way you work out, things like that, like all that stuff became very, very key after that. It wasn't just people showing up with a bunch of money trying to just qualify to 107%. Like that got thrown out the window after Schumacher came in and said, and it speaks to what Kenny was saying, he came in and really changed the game. Now, of course, back then you did have to do the whole entire, you could practice as much as you want. You could do a lot of, that's why Ferrari became dominant.
Special tires made for you.
They have their own test track, so they were able to just do things into the late hours. And there's plenty of stories of Schumacher not leaving until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and leaving Mick and his wife Corinne all at home saying, I'm out here just making sure we gotta get the team better. So there's that whole entire aspect of that as well, where teams at that time were able to close that gap and go on these long dominant runs. So I understand what Julian's saying, but at the same time, this grid is as close as it's ever going to be. So to kind of like say that, that there's this like big discrepancy, it's not really that much. The differences are very, very small percentage points, less than 1%.
Facts.
And it's never been like that. There used to be huge swaths of discrepancies between the teams, and our longer watching, people in the family could always speak on all of that. If anybody wants to know, Mary, Uno, anybody that's been watching this for a long time can speak on that as far as how spread across the grid was. So yes, I just believe that was a long way of saying it is the setup. It is going to change from race to race. Rear limited tracks, we know that's what Checo excels in. And if you can still dial in the car correctly, we might see Max beat Checo at a rear limited track like Baku next year, because the car might be just that well suited for him. But that all comes with time. And as you set up the car differently, those are things that change. So I just wanted to speak on that. But I do appreciate him coming in and actually bringing a different opinion and a different perspective on the things that we do talk about as far as the topic.
Right, respectfully and with some receipts. I loved it. Kenny B dropping knowledge, Uno, you, like, it's just like when people come on with different perspective, that's what this platform, this show is built for. And people don't understand that. You could come in with the garbage and all the hot and the disrespectful. So I'm gonna cut you. But if you come in like Julian did, and even if your opinion is different and you got your receipts with you, how can you not respect it? You gotta like conversation that is just growing. Like, it only helps you grow as somebody who watches Formula One. So I definitely loved it.
Exactly. We're all fans. We all share the same passion for the sport. And I've said that even amongst our own Discord group, our own Wolfpack family, that we all come from different walks of life, and we share in the same thing that everybody else does that are sitting there watching right now, whether there might be people that are just trolling, they're haters, or people that are part of the family. It's in motorsport. So I do appreciate that when people come through and they can just bring their receipts and just speak on what they feel. And it's not, like I said, some BS. It's just some real stuff. So I wanted to just maybe touch on that. So we'll run over a couple of things that I haven't brought up in a couple of weeks. I've been away, been busy. We're going to try to revamp back up to some of the things that I try to always keep an eye on. So let's start off with the clock watch.
The clock watch.
And look, clock watch, we've got Arthur at 39 points, 14th in the standings, 9th in the sprint in his last race, 11th in the feature race. Still has one podium. But Charles he's kind of separating. He's got a little gap. Yeah, exactly. 99 points, 5th in the standings, 5th in his last sprint, and 3rd in the race. He's got 4 podiums. Here's the thing, though. Out of both of them, no race wins between the two. What are we doing here? The Monegasque are probably throwing their hands up like, why don't we have a win now for Monaco? This is nuts. We've got 2 Monegasque drivers, no wins. But we'll see how this goes. Maybe Ferrari will pick up the pieces afterward. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with that. But I think we might have to hedge our bets towards Charles right now, because he's kind of, he's the only one that's really bringing in points and podiums. Penalty points paddock. We haven't touched on this in a while.
Ooh, let's go.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Who do you think would be the leader in penalty points right now? It might not be the most obvious answer.
I would go maybe Carlos or maybe
one of them has been leading and has been almost on the cusp for a minute from getting a race ban.
Oh, Gasly.
He's up there. And I would say Gasly too, but guess what? It's Danny Ricciardo, because he had 6 points before he went out in 2022. And those points are still there, bro. He still has 6 points at the top of the list. Gasly's got 5 points. Oh, and Ricciardo's points drop off at the end of the season, so he still is, again, leading with 6. Gasly with 5. He loses 2 points in October. We'll run down the list. George Russell now has 4 points. He loses 2 more in October as well. Yuki Tsunoda, he's got 3 points. He loses 2 in September. Lance Stroll, he's got 5 points, and he loses 2 in October as well. Alonso's got 2 points. He loses both his points in November. Albon's got 1 point, loses in October. Zhou, he's got 1 point, loses it next year. Norris, 2 points, loses it in November. Hulkenberg, 3. Ocon, 2. Perez, 2. And Verstappen and Sainz. Lewis Hamilton, 2 points now. He had 0 forever. And with this BS thing that happened with the race, so he won't lose his points until July 30th of 2024. It was ridiculous. Kevin Magnussen 1 point and Leclerc 1 point. They lose their points in September and October respectively. So the only people with no points right now would be Valtteri. Pia still with 0 points. Nick DeVries, but I don't even know
He
where
ain't
that
gonna get no
counts or where
points.
that is. He's not all there anymore anyway. And Logan Sargent was 0 points. So at least at that point, like Logan's got no penalty points. I mean, I always know where
Yeah,
near
the
as
time
far
we're
as-
having no points is actually a good thing. Right.
Exactly. It's like that was good. That was good. That was good. I'm taking all these shots internally as far as Logan Sargent. I'm just like, this is so bad. It's just not. I just don't even say anything at this point. I'm like, all right, maybe we'll get something. Something
Right.
to speak about, but right now there's nothing. It's bad.
Right.
It's pretty bad.
It is.
Let's see, who else have we got here? Just in case, if they do bring back Nicholas Latifi, I saw there were people were talking about maybe bringing him back to make things interesting for safety cars. He has 4 points still. Mick Schumacher has 3 points if he comes back, and then Vettel has 2 points. But they lose their points at the end of this year, so
right.
they'll have a clean slate. As far as Daniel Ricciardo, we'll speak on that. He is in P21 because there's all these drivers being in and out. It's not even a 20-person grid anymore, so he's in 21st place. And in Hungary, he was 13th in qualifying. He was ahead of Yuki Tsunoda, who was in 17th. And in the race, he was in 13th with Tsunoda in 15th. Everybody thought, oh, wow, this is the second coming. Let's see what he does. Spa, 19th in quali versus Yuki Tsunoda in 11th. 11th in the sprint versus Tsunoda in 16th. And then 10th, let's see, 16th in the race and Tsunoda in 10th. So, again, Yuki bringing in points. Ricciardo not really. We'll see how that goes, but I just feel like he's got his hands full with Yuki because Yuki's just doing that good and he's improving season to season, race to race. So pretty happy with that. On the rookie roundtable, as we sit with the rookies here, your man, I got him. Your man Pia doing extremely well at Spa, second in the sprint. It was a DNF in the feature race, but that's okay. He still got his first podium. Nobody has podiumed in any race, whether it's sprint or feature race, since Heikki Kovalainen, who I believe that was 2008, when it was Lewis's teammate. He podiumed in his rookie season, and then before that, of course, was Lewis. So nobody's been on that level as far as making a podium in any race since Heikki Kovalainen and Lewis Hamilton. So he's special. I have to admit that. We're watching something special with Oscar Piastri. I gotta believe that now. I don't think it's just the upgrades. I think we're seeing somebody that really is doing pretty well. I know Carlos had his comments about how he made a move that he shouldn't have made going into La Source, but he never. When's the last time he's raced there? You gotta kind of give him a little bit of leeway there in those conditions, changing conditions and things like that. So I actually would back, Piastri for that in that situation, that he's a rookie and rookies make mistakes. Still did pretty good. He did better than Carlos Sainz in the sprint, so he's talking all that trash, but hey, bro, he beat you in the sprint.
You gotta tighten up. Right.
Yeah. Like, come on, you're racing Ferrari, what are you doing? So definitely looking pretty good. 34 points, 11th in the standings. Logan Sargent, no points yet, 0 points. Again, Logan Sargent's got this thing. Logan Sargent's got this thing where he doesn't DNF as much because he finishes 90% of the race and then he crashes the car. So that's happened twice this year. All right, we're looking at a 16th in Australia, I believe it was, when that whole kerfuffle happened at the end of the race. So they classified him as 16th, but DNF because he finished 90% of the race. And then in Belgium, same thing. 18th, DNF, but he finished 90% of the race. So it's not a DNF. So I don't know if that's like a record or anything in one season where it's just no DNFs because you finished 90% of the race, but you still finished it. So we got something. I'm trying to figure out. I'm just
you draw it like
scraps
you're trying to find a silver lining in all these gray clouds, like Spa. Like there it is. There
you go. I'm scrambling for scraps here. I'm trying.
Right.
That's my Sarge. I got to back him. I'm like, that's my Sarge. And what did he say? Charge into the battlefield. I'm like, I need something.
I gotta go.
DeVries, I did a strike through on those notes because none of it counts anymore. That's pretty much it. So he's out. And I wanted to speak on the Formula Academy for the end of this. So I'll try to run through this as quickly as possible. I know we're definitely coming to the end. We're like overtime and all that. But I wanted to touch on this because one of the biggest things that they announced was that they are going to, they did secure the deal as far as showing these races live. Now, they've been talking about that since February. The news when it comes out sounds like it's like we're going to see Formula Academy races for the rest of the year, but keep in mind there's only one race left. So But they did say this back in February that they were going to try to secure Austin for being a live race. So they have all the F2, F1, F3, everything is going to be all in that Austin weekend. So that was the official news that came out, that they will be moving forward after the last race in Le Castellet, Paul Ricard. They will be broadcasting that live, which is great news for Formula Academy. Susie Wolff and her team putting in the hard work and making sure that we'll be able to see that. They didn't say which platform they'll be putting it on. I'm assuming F1 TV will be one of them, of course.
Yeah.
But they didn't say if Sky's going to get it. They didn't say if ESPN's going to get it. I think ESPN will get it too, because ESPN does have they do run the highlights that we see on like YouTube, and some of the extra ones, like the longer highlight ones that come out on Wednesdays. So I think ESPN will probably be showing it as well. And I just wanted to run down the last race that we did have in Le Castellet as far as what was going on there. Race 1 had a little bit of a incident that was very reminiscent to Spa, with Bianca Bustamante coming in on the inside of Jess Edgar on lap 7 of 18. And basically it was the same come together. And pretty much that ended up ending, I believe that was Jess Edgar's race, but Bianca Bustamante was able to go on. Niera Marti got her first race win, so that was pretty good. Abby Pulling P2, Lola Lovenfoss P3, so Campos got a double podium. They scored the most points out of any of the teams that weekend. And as far as the points that they scored, they're still in like they're the last team as far as the standings go for the constructors, but they scored the most points out of any team that weekend. So shouts out to Campos. They got like I think 76 points over that weekend. Race, I think I believe the move of that race was Emily de Hoos, which I always say is the Flying Duchess, coming from the Netherlands, instead of having the Flying Dutchman. Had a little switchback on lap 11 out of 18 on Bianca Bustamante, who ran deep into turn 1. So she just kind of did a little switchback on her. So that was pretty cool to see. Race 2, again, they had a huge battle with the 1, 2, and 3 drivers that are in the Drivers' Championship between Kabasi, Garcia, and Bueller. So they were going back and forth. Again, that was a pretty good race as well. And race number 3, race number 2 and race number 3, Marta Garcia won both of those races. So she's just been racking up wins. So as far as the standings go, right now we've got, out of all the wins, Marta Garcia has the most wins. She's got 6 wins for the whole entire season. You've got Hamda Al-Kabasi with 3 wins. You've got her sister with 2 wins, Amna Al-Kabasi. You've got Bianca Bustamante with 2 wins. Emily de Hoos has 1. Lena Bueller has 2. Carrie Schreiner has 1, and Niera Marti got 1, which was this weekend. So again, just watching that as well, there's a lot of action that goes on the track. I've seen some people in the comments saying that they just feel like they're not that good at racing and all that, track limits and that. I feel like that doesn't really matter, because this is basically the equivalent of like an F4 race. They're getting better and better as they go on. So the fact that they have this opportunity, we're seeing people on the track that are doing really well. And quite honestly, all the people making comments probably never wheeled at all in their life. They've never driven a go-kart. They've never driven a car. So to make comments about them actually doing this on the big stage, you really have, you probably have no idea what it's like to even race these cars. So I just feel like, people making comments like that about Formula Academy should just kind of shut up and just sit there and watch the race, because there's a lot of stuff there's a lot of action going on. Bianca Bustamante has come out as one of those people that you can see some wild stuff on the track as far as the different angles she might take, going deep into corners and all that. It reminds me of like a Yuki Tsunoda without all the audio. She's the wild one out there. There's a lot of things that you see. I would say that as far as the Drivers' Championship, in the beginning, I was saying that Marta Garcia probably would be the one to take it, because she has the most experience. She's, I believe, maybe the oldest on the grid and has the most experience racing in different series. So that does show that she is, that she's leading right now. She's got 48-point lead over Lena Bueller, but Bueller's giving it to her, though. She's been, in there and actually, giving her a little bit of a fight. So, and again, as far as the constructors, I was saying that MP Motorsport would be the team that I was backing for the Kabasi sisters. I think that's pretty impressive to see 2 Emirati sisters that a lot of times in the Middle East, driving isn't even a thing for women. And to be leading and being at the top of the grid is pretty impressive to see them actually doing their thing. I know that their dad was a world-class rally driver and all that, but they're doing their thing as well. So that's why I backed MT Motorsport. And then Emily the host, of course, is their third driver. So they're leading the championship right now. But I wanted to highlight the things that are going on in Formula Academy, and looking forward to see what they do in the final race come Austin. And hopefully we'll see who can actually show up to the Austin race. I don't know if any of the fam or anyone's going to be there, but we'll see if maybe everyone can show up to that race.
That's a bet, bro. Appreciate you, Will. I am WPPN to wrap up. Hey, listen, I gave you some extra time because, I was on travel, had a lot of things going on. I said, you know what? Miss one. We're going to give it an extra hour. We here 2 hours tonight. I really appreciate the fact we had new callers come in, specifically Julian, Kenny B joining us, Uno joining us, Will I Am, Jeff. That's what this platform is about. That's what this show is about. That is what this segment is about. It is about giving you the opportunity to have a voice, all right? A lot of other platforms aren't willing to share their platform with you in order for you to have that voice. Big shout out to Danny B with his super chat in there talking about the fam. Congratulations to the VIP box. Will, much love to my Wolfpack fam. Let's get crazy, and I appreciate this outlet. I appreciate you all. So with that being said, this has been an awesome show. We're going to be back again next Monday. I'm probably going to do it again at 1900 Eastern Standard Time. All right, so next Monday, do not forget this Sunday, we have the Esports Wolfpack F1 Grudge Racing Series, where we will be racing on F123. If you want to participate, send me an EA Sports friend request to Wolfpack F1 before that Sunday. Saturday, I usually check for all my requests, usually check for any updates, so that Sunday we can get racing at 11 a.m., but we start with free practice, and then by 11:30, we go into a separate lobby for qualifying and the race. All right. This has been awesome. Do not forget that there will also be a massive giveaway at the end of the season. Only Wolfpack family members are eligible, and I'm thinking about moving it to green and yellow badge members only able to race in this race. You will win everything you see here in this picture if you win it all. Plus, we will have other little giveaways throughout the racing challenge. So listen, I love you all. Appreciate everybody for showing up. Appreciate those who called in, joining the show. It has been absolutely awesome. So with that being said, this is Jay, Wolfpack Performance Talk Podcast, and the hottest, livest talk show on the planet for Formula One content, F1 Minute. And I'm about to get out of here. Peace. Wolfpack out.